Okay, so for the dumbbell B stance Romanian deadlift, first I'm just going to demonstrate the movement without any weight. So you're keeping one foot back just for balance. So you're not actually really putting much weight on it. It's obviously going to naturally take a little bit of weight because it's on the ground, but try to think of putting most of your weight in the front leg. And then you're just doing a Romanian deadlift. So you're going to bend forward, stop mid-shin, and come up. Now you always want to make sure you're keeping your back straight, and you actually don't need to go down too far. So just go down wherever you feel comfortable, and you're thinking of pushing your hip back, whoop, and then squeezing up. So now, if you have no equipment whatsoever, honestly, we're just making things simple, and just, again, you can use your bleach or laundry detergent or gallon water. So you can hold that like this. And then of course, if you have dumbbells, you can do those too. So what am I gonna do? I'll use dumbbells for this one. So in the guide, it says 15 reps, but remember, you can do more or even less. If you have weight heavier, I'm just gonna throw this in here. If you have heavier weight, you could even go as low as like 8 to 10 to 12 reps. So keep that in mind. So back foot, you can kind of put it just wherever's comfortable, just experiment. Okay. So pushing hips back, squeezing up. Turn this way. Woo! Woo! The balance! I fell the other week and I actually hurt my back a little bit. So if I'm acting like a weenie, that's why. Okay, so now we're gonna do the other leg. Now, if you have heavy enough weights that you are feeling challenged in this, you can actually take a little rest between legs. When it's a single leg exercise, if you immediately go from right to the left leg without any rest, you might actually be sacrificing potential strength gains because you don't have as much time to recover. So when I finish those 15 reps, if I'm like, oh, I'm tired, I'm out of breath, my butt's burning, oh my God, and then right away I have to go into the other leg, obviously I can push myself through it, but if it were coming down to being able to progress to the next weight, I probably wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't resting. Now, if you don't have the option of progressing to the next weight, then don't worry about it. So, yeah. Okay, so for banded seated abductors, if you have multiple bands, you could actually use 2 at once. For the fabric-y resistance bands like this, they're pretty heavy to begin with, so I've tried, and if I use 2, I can't even do it. So, but if you have rubbery ones, then you might want to do it. And then I'll show you guys an alternative after for if you have no bands. It'll just be a different exercise. So in the guide, it says 25 plus. For me, just again, see how you feel. If you get to 20 and you feel challenged, that's fine. If you get to 30 and you still don't feel challenged, that's fine. So just make sure you're pushing so you feel challenged. So what I do when I move these is I try to keep it really, again, at like a pretty constant tension movement. So I'm really digging my heels into the ground. I like to lean forward a little bit, but you don't have to. You could stay upright. And then you're just squeezing out and then lowering back in, but you don't fully come in. Like you don't fully relax and lose tension. You're keeping tension this entire movement. So that's a long time. That's a lot of time under tension. So, and you'll notice, like sometimes I just kind of like touch the muscle, and that's just like a mental kind of thing. Like you'll see me, I'll be like here, and then I'll be here, and it's just kind of like, you can try it out. It can actually put your mind to the muscle a little bit more and you'll start to feel it. So whatever you gotta do. So I squeeze the top and then lower. So I'm going like 10, 10, lower. So it's like almost like a paused. And again, throughout the whole movement, I'm not just, yes, I'm squeezing at the top, but I'm also squeezing my glutes when I'm coming in. So I'm not just letting them drop. Like, did you see that? Don't do that. So lower in, and squeeze, and lower. And squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. I'm squeezing a lot. I'm dying, if you can't tell. 24. Oh my gosh. Okay, that was an example of failure. I honestly wouldn't push quite to failure on the first round, to be honest, because I mean, like, you can do it, you can try and see, but the thing is, if you put in all your energy in your first set, then by the second and third, you're kind of dying. I personally prefer to put like quite a bit of effort in my first set, and then the second set a little more, and then the third set a little more. So usually I'll do my third set more to failure. So just try it out and see how you feel. The good thing is, that was impressive, I have to say. The good thing is that, I distracted myself. Oh, because we're doing this in like a giant circuit, even if my legs are dying, by the time we go back to this exercise, I've kind of like recovered a little bit. So just assess how you feel. And how you know is if you find like, so I would track that. I would track how many reps I did, and I could even make a note and say that that was to failure. And then next time I do the workout, I'll see. Maybe next time, 30 reps done in that slow controlled tempo, maybe it wouldn't even feel like failure. So that would just mean that I've made progress already. So then I would add to the reps or add weight, like add another band, whatever. So that's why you always want to keep track. And then next workout, you're trying to beat your last workout. Okay, so we're gonna start with side. Our next and last exercise of the circuit is side planks. So I have a handy dandy timer on my phone. And so I'm just gonna time myself, and obviously I'm going to make sure that I do the same amount per side. So if you know that one side is weaker than the other, do that side first. So, yas! So when you're doing this, you want to make sure your body is like in line with the floor. I need to adjust my positioning here actually. See, look, my shoulder, I have it under my elbow. So I'm kind of in line there, keeping my body, oh, this is what I was trying to say, straight. Like you don't want to be like leaning forward or leaning back. You're going straight. And you can keep an arm up, whatever feels more comfortable. And just don't let your hips drop. Be squeezing them up. Okay, I'm gonna go for a full minute, so that's 10 more seconds, not even. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yay! Okay, now we're gonna do the other side. Other side. Okay, so if you need to take a little mini rest between sides, you may. Now, depending on your shoes, your feet may be like a little bit slidey, so just experiment and see what feels most sturdy. If you have to put a leg kind of like to support yourself, that's fine. Just always just, again, think of squeezing. And that is the first round of the circuit. So now you could rest a minute and a half, even 2 minutes before you go into your second round of the circuit, or you could go straight in. If you're just going straight in though, you might need to push yourself a little bit harder. So, because basically if you're pushing yourself hard enough, you require rest periods. If you're just going through the motion and not really pushing yourself, that's when you feel like you don't want to rest, because you don't need it because you're not pushing yourself hard enough. So if you push hard enough, you will feel like you need resting and stuff like that. So again, if you haven't been very active, you may need to take it a little bit easier, otherwise you'll be really sore. But after that, you're just always going to try to push yourself and beat what you did in your last workout. Okay, so for the burnout, we're gonna hold, or we're gonna do each move for 30 seconds. And then we'll be done. So do not do the burnout until you've done the circuit 3 times. So you do the circuit 3 times and then the burnout for 2 to 3 minutes at the very end, and you're good. Okay, so 30 seconds, banded kickbacks per leg. Now always make sure you're keeping your, like, you don't want to be sticking out your butt. You want it like, you want your spine neutral, and you want to squeeze your core throughout the movement. And of course your glutes. So you can actually go a little bit faster for burnouts. I kind of got caught up in talking. So switch legs now to the other leg, obviously. So yeah, I kind of got up in talking, but for the burnouts, you can actually perform them faster. And what you can do when it's a single leg exercise, which this burnout actually has, oh, my band is slipping, quite a bit of those. When it's a single leg exercise, you can actually count a little bit, just so you don't do way more on one leg than the other. Okay, so that's it for our kickbacks. Now we're going to do 30 seconds of a glute bridge iso hold. Woo! So we're just holding and squeezing at the top. Well, because we're staying at the top. So we're gonna squeeze while we're there. Like against your band, especially. next we are doing, oh no, I lost my spot. Okay, next one we're doing side lying abductors. So 30 seconds, of course. Ooh, these ones are harder for 30 seconds. Put this up. Okay, 30 seconds. I actually kind of forgot to count, so oops. Okay, other side. And just think, after this, we just have one more exercise with 30 seconds per leg. We're almost there. My booty's burning. Okay, that was 30 seconds. And now we're doing our cha-chas. So this is gonna be a fun one. So what you're gonna do is like hold a squat position, and then you are just stepping back. You can go faster as well. Just see how you feel. If you start off too fast, by the time you get even halfway, you're kind of just like dying. Woo. Okay, and last 30 seconds of our burnout is now. So again, think of squeezing your core, keeping everything nice and stable. You're trying to only move the leg. So don't let this leg kind of like flop around with it. Woo! And that is 30 seconds. We have finished our first workout. So after this, here is going to be the alternatives for some of the exercises that are written in the ebook. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Woo! Okay, so for a B stance hip thrust, all you're gonna do is just have one leg just to kind of support you for balance. So some people will find that single leg might cause a little bit of back tension. So if that happens, just do a B stance one instead. So you're not thinking of really putting your weight on that leg. So I could technically lift it up and just like be fine. So you really want to think of that throughout the movement. Like think of putting 70% on this leg, and then this one is just for support. And then of course you can use a dumbbell or a bleach bottle or whatever you need. Yes, we shall do a full set. Okay. Oop, I was putting some weight on my right leg. That's not what I want. So reminding myself, squeezing. I'm like on my way down. I can literally feel like under my butt, like the muscle contracting. So you may not feel it if you're newer to training, because it takes some time to get used to that level of mind-muscle connection. But just think about it. Just think of squeezing. Think of the spot. And just squeeze like a crazy person. Okay, That's not quite failure. That is not a demonstration of failure. So that there, I feel challenged, but I definitely could do more reps. But at the same time, I fell the other week. I took a nasty spill. I've got some pains in my back. So this movement kind of hurts a little bit. You know what? While we're at it then, if anybody else, because this chair's a little bit, I don't know, it's just not comfortable. So even though we do have this exercise in future days, if you have to, you could just do this as a bridge instead of a hip thrust, and that will feel better if you're having back pain. So I'm gonna go ahead and just show you that on my other leg. So, yeah. And let's say you could do this single leg, but you can also do B stance. You will see in future workouts, but don't worry about if you have to do this variation multiple days a week, if that one hurts. Whew, okay, let's go. So as you can see, there's a smaller range of motion, but if I still keep it really controlled and squeeze, it feels fine. So I'm squeezing, not putting much weight here. And then I don't fully rest on the way down. You could, that is a dead stop variation. So you could go like this. Or you could experiment keeping the tension. We do have dead stops on, like dead stop glute bridges on another day, so maybe keep this one a little bit more constant. And notice how I'm even having, like, I have only my heel planted, and that can just put extra emphasis on the glutes. I can feel the hamstrings. Okay, so if you have no resistance band, a side-lying hip abduction could be a good replacement for for seated banded abductors. So again, you just want to think of squeezing like crazy. Like I'm just thinking of contracting my upper glute really, really hard, and it still feels tough. So just do that if you have no other weight. And then another option, this one is even more challenging, would be a side-lying hip raise. So it's same idea, except you're raising your hips. So you're gonna raise your top leg and then lower, but you don't actually put your weight down. You're just hovering and then up. So that's another one that will give you, like, it's working the same area as the seated abductors, but you don't need a band. And this one can feel quite challenging. So there's that option. So those are the two good options for replacing a seated banded abductor with no equipment. Woohoo! Okay, and then for the side to front raises, what you're gonna wanna do if you don't have any weight at all is either the invisible weight technique. So watch the 8 ways to increase the difficulty of your workout video, and that's it there. I fully demonstrate it. But basically you're just bracing every muscle and then pretending you're holding weight and really squeezing through the range of motion. So I'm coming closer so you guys can see, like, I'm just shaking because I'm tensing my muscles as hard as I can. So I'm basically like just flexing really hard and pretending I'm using heavy weight almost. So you can do that if you literally have nothing else. It's enough to provide some stimulus to the muscle. So if you're someone who's experienced in training, it's enough to maintain muscle. And if you're someone who's not super experienced, if you're like a complete beginner, it actually could even build. So that coupled with other exercises like push-ups, you can still progress. And then the other option is if you have the bleach bottle. So I have 2 of these bleach bottles. Now one is more full than the other. So obviously if you have 2 things that are not the same weight, don't use them, because that would be, yeah, I can definitely feel a little bit of a difference. So you would want to like, I could pour some out, you know, or you could just do one arm at a time. That will be a little bit more time consuming just because, well, I mean, if you're not used to this exercise, it may be heavy enough, but if you have to go pretty high rep, by the time you do one arm and then the other arm, it can be a little bit more time consuming. So in that case, that's when you may not rest as much between circuits. You may just kind of whip through because it might get a little bit too long. You could also just do a different upper body exercise, like a push-up variation, even though there's push-ups on the other days. If you're like just wanting to find a different way to really challenge your upper body, you could use something else. Woo!